Irrigation is completely necessary when it comes to onions. If you don't have proper irrigation, don't try it, because you will be crying. You will be crying. Some of the factors to consider when irrigating onions is the quality and quantity of water that you have available, the size of the area that needs to be irrigated, the water holding capacity of the soil, how much water the soil can actually hold in it, and the maximum crop water requirements and the root zone depth. So we've established that the roots are not very long. You've established that because they're not very long, you need to put on your water. But what you need to establish is the stages of how much water you put on, all right? Because you've got germination straight up to the maturity of your bulb. How much water is required for each stage, all right? One of the pointers, irrigation should be discontinued at least 3 weeks before harvesting, all right? This is because we're in the drying phase. Our onions need to be dried, all right? And one of the things that you need to appreciate when it comes to leaves is leaves need water to stay erect, one, and to also produce food or photosynthesis. So this is just a quick thing here. How much water is required per stage? Here you can see the germination is not as much. You need damp conditions, but not as much water. For the vegetative growth, or basically when your plant is growing up in the green stage, it will need a little bit more water. But for the bulbing, the actual bulbing, which is what? The actual onion, this is what you are looking to put on. You want more water, all right? The maturity, as I said before, you cut off the water, so it's less water, all right? I've said it straight through the presentation. Onions are shallow root, and therefore a lower but more frequent applications of water is necessary for a deeper crop. In this case, it gave carrots. All right, fertilization. For efficient and economic fertilizer recommendation, you have to do a soil test. I can't reiterate more that you need to do a soil test. This is going to determine how much fertilizer you need to use. We in Barbados tend to just get fertilizer and apply it, and then we hope for good results. Most of the time we get good results, but in reality, you probably could have got better results once you knew what was in your soil. All right, so you're looking at the normal NPK, and you know that phosphates would promote healthier root development. So if you're having issues with your roots, you need to apply some phosphorus there, some phosphorus there. For the nitrogen, it's critical for the earliest stage and the medium growth of your plant. And it's basically for what? The green part, the photosynthesis for food. So without it, if you're having issues in that area, you really don't have much of a bulb. You don't really have much leaves. You're not really going to have proper vegetative growth. And for the potassium, this is in the storage of the food or the carbohydrates in the basal leaves. This, once again, is in the scale, in the area of the onion. And storage is what your onion is, so you need to make sure that it has potassium. Okay? Apart from the NPK fertilizers, you have foliar fertilizers, which is like your 20-20-20. And that's recommended. You should use it when you're applying your pesticides, so that you sort of do a double job. So you apply your fertilizer, you make sure you got a foliar feed inside there, or foliar fertilizer. Weed control. Because of how onions are, and we see how the leaves are, you need to control your weeds. That is important. Keep your plants, your beds weeded as much as possible, because onions really and truly don't like weeds. And we can see why, because the thinness of the leaf itself, you can actually see why. If I was a little bony plant out there and I had a broad plant over me, I didn't like it either. So it doesn't like weeds. It's important to have your beds weed free. And this is not only within the actual beds, but you should actually also weed in the field itself, but along the borders also, because this also encourages, on the borders, encourages pest and disease. okay? You can, depending on the size of your land, hand weed or use a herbicide or basically control it from the get-go. You can use things like Prowl, for example. And weeding should begin as soon as possible after germination and should be carried out on a weekly basis. When you're using your tools, because of how onions are, you need to be very careful when it comes to your tools. But apart from the tools, when you're hand weeding, you also need to be careful not to pull up your onions, or sometimes the roots of your weeds are entangled with your onions and they come up because they're very shallow root, and just at the surface, you automatically will damage the roots of your onions. Hence, it is important that you literally keep it weed free. All right? There are a number of ways you can do this, but we'll go through that. This is an example of an onion field. In here, you could see some onions. Some people might not even be sure if they're onions because they might look like grass. Okay? And you can see broader plants, broader leaves in terms of various other plants out there, which means that your onions are struggling. Yeah, you might get onions out of this, but how are they going to be? Could it be better? Could it have been better? Could you have gotten the actual yield that you were actually looking for based on this? Once again, it's not so clear, but I know this ain't look like an onion field. You can't make it out. It looks like a field, but you can't make out it's an onion field. All right? So this is not what you're looking for. You need to have it properly maintained at all points in time. This farmer, as I said, he will get onions, but how much? And as busy as you are, time management, because once weeds get a certain weight, they will grow. They're competing. They will grow well above your onions.